the sales pitch for a while on 4K was, it's not just 4K, it's 4K plus HDR. And it was that combination that really led to the quality that consumers were looking for. Now there isn't a buzzword like that associated with 8K, or stop me if I'm wrong, is there? There isn't an HDR 2.0 or something like that. But there is a whole suite of interesting quality technologies, right? So we're still going to be telling the same story, that it's not a resolution story, it's a quality story, right?
Well, there is a better HDR experience on the new 8K TVs for all the reasons that the panel gave.
Fair enough.
Better panels, better backlight, better emissive displays, LED, micro LEDs, 8K 88-inch OLEDs, backlight master drive. It was world acclaimed as the best backlight system. So we have a better HDR experience, and to me HDR doesn't just mean high dynamic range. It means the new wide color gamut. It means 10-bit. It means electro-optical transfer function, following that PQ curve of how the human visual systems works. So now we're perfecting that with these new higher-end processors and panels, and they combine better processing, where they sent these things to school for deep learning, to know when I'm looking at a de-interlace signal, I know I got to put my processing power into de-interlacing that. So to make it progressive, go ahead, please.
Jeremy, you're right. When 4K first came out, there wasn't a whole lot of content that followed, and there was a great deal of skepticism among the content community on the value of 4K. Nobody was in a big rush to go out and remaster all of their movies or start shooting in 4K because the content community, for lack of a better term, was like, well, I don't know, is resolution alone enough to make people go out and buy their 5th copy of The Godfather or whatever their favorite movie is? But when HDR came on the scene, that was the trigger. Everybody saw the value in that because it was a much better experience. It wasn't just more pixels, it was smarter pixels, as some people like to say. So that heavy lifting has been done already. And the groundwork is already laid for 8K. So I think the migration to 8K content will be a lot smoother than it was from high def to 4K because of that.
I have been working for TV industry more than 35 years, and then in the past SD and become the HD and 4K back to the beginning of the 2010 era. And then after that, we introduced an HDR. And then maybe somebody knows, when I start to talk about HDR, I cannot stop. I don't have to talk about the HDR here so much. But the important point is that in the past, before HDR, just only the resolution evolution. But the HDR involves us not just only the HDR, you said the wide color gamut, and also the 10-bit. Then the PT2020 is quite evolutional standard. They are not just only the resolution, any other 4 elements becomes much better than before. Then we can get the very, very realistic picture. Then we introduce HDR, the 4K, and very realistic picture we get. Then we recognize, the TV manufacturer recognize, oh, still we have the room to evolve our panel technology. Then we are trying to evolve the panel technology, try to get better picture quality. Then we found, oh, now the resolution is not enough with a large size TV. Then we involve the 8K. Then picture becomes very, very realistic. Always, that kind of balance is quite important. Then now we have reached to the very higher level of the picture quality as to describe the very, very higher realness.
And that's where I think, with everything that was just discussed, there's a lot of chicken and egg that goes on here too, right? So you could argue right now that even consumers still aren't super aware of what goes on with HDR. You're for salespeople, they understand, they know what it's about. Customers just know that they're seeing a better picture. So part of this is you get into this world of 8K now, I think you're going to see more and more, even of the content creators, saying, I need to make sure I'm mastering things to really leverage HDR, which, again, I don't think that we as an industry have done a great job of explaining that and making sure people understand that. And at the end of the day, it's just going to, again, make for a more realistic picture and a more enjoyable experience. And I think it is about more than just this resolution, it's all these things bundled up together, because I'm always reminded of one of your colleagues about 5 or 6 years ago and put out an article that said, why 4K TV TVs are stupid and why you'll never need one. And now here we are talking about 8K. So I think people have a difficult time imagining what this is all going to bring together when you take the content creation, the upscaling, and the panel technology together. It's going to really change.
The challenge is that 8K could just become another buzzword that confuses consumers. And there's a slew of them in this industry, as you know. And HDR has become associated with the quality. That's the story we've all been telling. So it's very easy for consumers to say, well, this isn't an 8K set, it's a 4K set, but it's going to have the HDR, so that's going to be good enough. So I think we need to do some education to ensure that consumers are aware.
And that's a great point, and that's where we really think it's less about the speeds and feeds. It's going to be when customers actually see this in living color on the sales floor, when they experience it. So, right now we've been doing a lot of heavy lifting as a company. We've got about 2,500 different retail displays out there now where customers can actually experience 8K, and it's that same kind of jaw-dropping moment as the first time people saw 4K or the first time they saw full HD. So we have no doubt that as we continue to educate customers and get this out in front of them, that we're going to see the benefit and they're going to understand it really, really well.
Perfect. One of the big buzzwords is creative intent, preserving creative intent, and 8K plus HDR and all of these technologies that we're talking about give the creator a lot of tools to use when trying to preserve that creative intent. In other words, what they see in the mastering suite, what a consumer sees when they go to a movie theater, it's going to look more true to that intent when they get it home and watch it on one of these TVs.
Which was the Game of Thrones moment, right? Consumers seeing, well, there's this muddy mess on my television set.
Was
and
it
then
supposed
if you have,
to be that dark?
Right, and if you have a nice 4K set, you're going, what is that we're talking about?
When we think about the creator's intent, after we introduce 4K HDR TV, then the creative people recognize, oh, TV has that kind of performance. Then we can utilize this kind of performance much more better. Then they can make a much grateful contents utilizing our TV's performance. That is the current situation. Then now we give, as Tim said, now we give to them much better performance environment for them. Then not just only the, I cannot say so educational, but preparing such kind of environment to the production side or creative side. That is quite important. That kind of large size mastering monitor is not available yet. Then when the creator sees that kind of large size TV with a higher performance, then many creative people said they would like to utilize that kind of performance to express their intent.
Thank you.
And
if I could just follow up on the panel here, and especially what Andrew's pointed out, is when you get these panels into the right showrooms and they're set up right, they tell the story of the better picture quality. It's easy to see. We have nice little old ladies come into our store and they're mesmerized and awesomely amazed by the picture quality. We put up the premium TVs, we put up good content, we set them all up properly, and they give you a picture. You don't have to say anything. That sells themselves. So when you put up an 8K TV with HDR content, with all these new enhancements in the processing and the panel, they will sell. And we, as in our store, do very well selling 4K HDR and now 8K TVs. So it's not a problem selling this new technology. And as Koshi-san properly said, sorry Toshi-san, 8 is bigger than 4 and it's easy to understand. So you know you're getting in for something that you expect to be better.
With the right content on screen.
It has to be displayed properly. That's the biggest key. Get the stores to display it properly.
This is kind of the cooperation between the creative side and the TV industries.
That's right.
Both sides evolve, the entire ecosystem becomes much better, and the customer can get a much better impression or experience from of their contents. That is our target. We would like to provide a better and a higher experience to the customer. To do that, both sides, the TV side and the content creation side, both sides, and also the delivery side, evolve. Then the cooperation is necessary.
I would add to that too, is that if you When we talk about content creation, it's not just about TV shows and movies also. I'm sure everyone heard there was buzz coming this week out of E3. The game creators and gaming has become so important. The console manufacturers are talking very openly about 8K and what that means going forward. So I think, again, it's back to that chicken and egg. So now that they know that the hardware is out there, they're going to start mastering and creating that way.
That's correct.
But the other thing I'd point out, though, and I think this is going to be true of why it's important even right now, what's great is there's all the content in the world available. 8K is going to take everything you've got now. With upscale, it's going to make everything you're already watching look better. So you get to enjoy it now, but when that ecosystem develops further, it's just the possibilities are endless.